Understanding the principles of chess very often seems easier than it is, and it's very important for your improvement, especially in the beginning. And in this video, we are going to dive deeper into the topic of the center, or how to play for the center. We will take a look at the masterpiece by Alexander Alekhine, played in 1922. And his opponent is a strong Italian player. So Alekhine, playing the white pieces, opens first d4, black responds with d5. Now Alekhine plays c4, questioning this d5 pawn, and black must do something about it. Black has several options. Black can play e6, black can play c6, and black can accept the queen's gambit. And the idea here, for example, is that black will play very energetically against the center, using the time white needs to spend to gain the pawn back. But let's go back to our game. In this game, black decided to go knight to f6, the so-called Marshall defense. Despite the fact that Marshall was a very strong chess master with several very interesting and still very popular opening ideas, this knight to f6 is actually a bad idea. Why? Let's see what Alekhine played. Alekhine took on d5, knight takes d5, and white plays e4. White has occupied the center. Black is moving around with his knight. This position might look similar to the Grunfeld if you're familiar with it. Let's go back and see what the Grunfeld is. The Grunfeld is a hyper-modern opening which is trying to undermine or give white first a strong center and then undermine or attack that strong center. After c takes d5, knight takes d5, now white plays e4, knight takes c3, and now the difference is that the knights on c3 have been exchanged. So therefore this variation is good for black. Black will later play c5, bishop g7, castle, knight to c6 maybe, and continue attacking the center. This position is about equal. Obviously white always has a slightly favorable position or more pleasant position, but the Grunfeld is one of the most precise defenses against the queen's gambit. But let's go back to our example. In our game, second knight to f6 has been played without g6, so now there is no knight on c3 for black to capture. However, white can even play better than e4. White can first play knight to f3, and now black is lacking any good move. And white also takes control of this e5 square, or increases the control. Now white is ready to push e4 in the next move. Black can try to avoid it, but white has many other ideas like queen to b3, and the position of black isn't good. However, after e4, white gives black some chances. Why is that? Let's take a look. Knight b6, knight c3, and now black could play e5. And d takes e5, then the queens are being exchanged, and this position is slightly better for white. This is only slightly better, despite the fact that white is a pawn up. However, Alekhine has proven, or had proven in the past, that he can win even these positions. But that game we will look at in another video. So in the game followed g6, a fianchetto like in the Grunfeld, but without the knights being exchanged on c3. Knight to f3, bishop g4, trying to put some pressure against this pawn, against the d4 pawn. Bishop e3, defending the pawn, so in case of bishop takes f3, white can respond with queen to f3 and not with this g takes f3, despite the fact that also this move would be very strong. So white already has a good advantage. Bishop to g7, bishop to e2, very fine by white, black castles, and now white commits an inaccuracy. Queen to d2, intending queenside castle. However, as you can see, the queen and the bishop on e3 are lined up on squares which can be controlled by c4. However, yet white is controlling c4 often enough, but later this might change. So black tries to gain control over the c4 square by means of bishop takes f3, and of course Alekhine takes back with the g-pawn and now maintains control over c4. Everything is fine for white so far. An improvement over the game had been knight to c6, d5, and then knight to e5. Now black is ready to jump to c4. However, in the game, black played e5 and now followed d5. Now the knight cannot move to c6, otherwise it would be captured by the d-pawn. So black's life is harder. Queen to e7, and from here it's really straightforward. h4. White can afford this move because the center is rather closed and white is controlling the center. So there is no disadvantage of this pawn advance on the edge. Black tries to stop h5 by playing h5 himself, otherwise this pawn had advanced and it had been very unpleasant for black. White castles queenside. Now we can see a very important idea. The kings are on different sides, and the side who is faster in the attack will most likely win, and it looks very good for white. Knight 8 to d7 followed. King to b1, bringing the king to safety. a6. Regarding king to b1, this move is often observed in various openings like the Sicilian, Najdorf. The purpose of this move is to bring it just into safety before white starts the attack. So a6, rook to c1, trying to put pressure on this pawn. Rook ac8 followed, and now knight to d1. Alekhine had a very interesting idea here in mind, and we will see which one in a moment. Bishop to f6 followed, trying to put pressure against his pawn, and now followed bishop h6, attacking the rook. The rook moves to e8, and now white plays a very strong move, knight to e3, and this knight is ready to jump to f5 and try to mate the black king. In case of bishop takes h4, white would play knight f5, and taking this is not really good because due to the open files and diagonals, white is already winning. Black has issues with the pieces. Black cannot really take because now white is threatening mate in 1. Black cannot do much about it. Even sacrificing the queen for the rook doesn't bring much because this square is very weak, and if you try to defend it, well, then the queen just takes the knight, and still these ideas are in place and black is completely lost. But let's go back to the game. After knight to e3, the move king to h8 followed, and now Alekhine continued with rook h to g1. Rook g8 played, and now we see a very nice maneuver, bishop f1, intending to go to h3. and here the bishop will be very strong. Knight f8, and now bishop h3, the rook has to move, or a knight has to go here. However, Alekhine's opponent decided to go rook d8, and now Alekhine took on f8. It's best not to take back with the rook on f8 due to knight f5 again, and now white is threatening mate, so this wouldn't be a good idea. And apart from threatening mate, white is also threatening to take the queen, so black has to defend two problems, the mating attack and the attack on the queen, and both problems cannot be solved at once. Black is completely lost. Therefore black took on f8 with the queen, but this had the obvious disadvantage that the rook takes on c7, pardon me. Bishop takes h4, it looks like black gained the pawn back, but rook takes b7 and white is again a pawn up. Rook d6, and now white just brings the pieces over in order to win the game. Bishop d8. The coordination of black is so bad that black is completely lost. Rook to c6, and now black is simply lacking good moves. Taking this rook is not really an option due to d takes c6, and you don't want your opponent to have such a strong passed pawn. The pawn is about to move to c7 and win more material. This is not good. Therefore in the game continued rook g7, and after the move queen to b4, white won the game by resignation. Black decided to call it a day. But why? This queen here on f8 is undefended, so this rook here cannot move. It is pinned. The attempt to unpin it by means of bishop to e7 are met by rook takes e7, and now black is forced to take here, otherwise he's just going to lose the rook. And in the end, white is up a bishop. Not very pleasant. Therefore, rook takes c6, but even this doesn't help due to d takes c6. Suddenly, this rook is defended again. However, it is pinned, so white has no time to move it. After f6, however, white has queen takes b6, and after queen takes e7, knight d5, white has two pieces for the rook, two minor pieces, this bishop and this knight, and also this passed pawn. The knight and the queen are defending or controlling the c7 square, and this bishop on h3 is controlling the promotion square, c8. Therefore, the position is completely lost, and the black player, the Italian player Davide Marotti, had every reason to resign here. A very nice game by Alekhine. What do you think about this game? Did you like it? Where had you played differently? Let me know in the comment section, and see you in the next video. Bye.